What is up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Welcome to the Be Greyt Podcast, episode 54. On today's episode, we got ourselves a one-round mock draft. The draft is, in about 2.5 weeks, around there, I think. And I think now is the perfect time for a mock draft. This will be my second to last one, the penultimate mock draft. The last one I do will be the week of the draft, probably the day before. So the draft starts Thursday night. So you'll probably get one the day before on Wednesday, and that one might be a 2 or 3 rounder. We will see. But again, we're just going to do a first round mock. This one I will do slightly differently. I'm going to do, because I think I've done 2 others, and what I did for those is I did, what do I think the teams are going to do? For this one, I'm going to do what I would do. If I was their GM, I'm going to tell you who I would pick. All right? We're not going to do any trades. I think trades just make things really messy and wonky, so we're just not going to do that. So, let's begin. Let's jump right on into it. The Tennessee Titans. If I am the Tennessee Titans, right, I have Will Levis at quarterback. Okay, the Mayo Man, okay? Guy who puts mayonnaise in his coffee. So do I draft Cam Ward, who is QB1 for this draft class, really the only one most people think could be generational, and even then, a lot of people don't think he can be that? Or do you go with the best player in the draft, which is, in my opinion, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher? I'm going to go Abdul Carter. And I say that because, first of all, I think he's the best player in the draft. And if the Titans suck again next season, then that's okay. Because guess what? Either Will Levis massively improves, or you suck again, which is fine, because the quarterback class next season, or for the next draft, is going to be way better than this. So just hold off. There's nothing wrong with just taking the best player. There's nothing wrong with that. The Cleveland Browns. What would I do? I have to keep reminding myself of that. What would I do? This is where I think I would take Cam Ward if I am the Browns. Why do I say that? Travis Hunter is tempting. I like Travis. But if I'm the Browns, I want to get as far away from Deshaun Watson and that problem. I want to get as far away as possible. It was a huge mistake, as we can see. And so I think just go ahead, draft his replacement, and just have his butt on the, or not Cam Ward, have Deshaun just on the bench. Yeah, you're paying him a lot of money, but he's a disaster, plain and simple. And you need a quarterback, okay? Kenny Pickett is not the future. As a Steelers fan, trust me, he's not the future. You know that. He probably even knows that, okay? And Deshaun is cooked. Get a young, talented quarterback in there, okay? And even if you want to sit him for a year and you want to start Deshaun, fine. That's fine. Sit him for a year. Or go ahead and start him. But you need a young quarterback that actually has potential. And that's Cam Ward. The New York Giants. What would I do? Shedeur is a possibility, but if this is what I would do, I would not pick Shedeur because I don't think he is. I don't think he's one of the 30 best players in this draft. I would go Travis Hunter if I'm the New York Giants. He's the second best player in this draft. He can play two positions that you need, that the Giants need, by the way. A wide receiver other than Malik Neighbors and a good corner, because Banks has not been a good corner for them. So it kind of fills two needs, and you can decide where you want him. Okay, if you want to put him at corner, okay. If you want to put him at wide receiver, okay. Because I still don't think he's going to end up playing two positions. I really don't. Because if I'm a team, I would much rather him just be elite at one position than be good at both, personally. The New England Patriots. This is what I would do and what I think they're going to do, ironically. And that's Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. He's the best tackle in the class. I watched him play in person at LSU. I think he's a tremendous player. I think he can be really good. New England needs an offensive tackle, and they need to protect their young quarterback, Drake May, as much as possible, and Will Campbell can do that. The Jaguars, kind of same situation. It's what I think they're going to do and what I would do. That's Mason Graham out of Michigan. I every time I think about Mason Graham, I think back to the Ohio State game where Mason Graham literally, he annihilated the interior of that Ohio State offensive line. Annihilated them. And this is a veteran Ohio State offensive line. Many of them are in this draft class. And Mason Graham annihilated them. Quinshon Judkins could do nothing that game. And that's why Michigan ended up winning. And so I think Mason Graham is an elite prospect. Elite talent. The Raiders at 6. I would pick Ashton Jeanty. Because I think Ashton Jeanty, first of all, it's a massive need for the Raiders. Okay? You don't want so much pressure to be on Geno Smith. Geno Smith is just an average quarterback, and he's on the older side. You need some semblance of a run game. And Ashton Jeanty has the potential to be an elite running back in this league. So I would just draft him. I don't think it's that hard of a decision, okay? Because realistically, the other options would be what? Tet McMillan? Yes, you need a wide receiver. But again, who's running the ball? I love Zamir White. As a Georgia fan, I love Zamir White. He's not it. Quite simply, he's just not it. So I think Ashton Jeanty is the pick. The Jets. Who would I pick if I'm the Jets? I know exactly who I would pick. I would pick Tyler Warren, tight end out of Penn State. The Jets really need a tight end. I think that, first of all, I think Tyler Warren would be amazing if Aaron Rodgers was still the quarterback, but that's obviously not the case. But I think Tyler Warren could really serve as a nice weapon and safety blanket for Justin Fields. I think you have seen this past season with the Raiders in particular, who took Brock Bowers in the first round last season. You really saw how much that helped their offense. And I think Tyler Warren he's not as good as Brock Bowers, but he can provide a lot of help offensively to Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall. Just adds a nice safety blanket. The Carolina Panthers. Who would I draft if I was you know what? I know exactly who I would draft if I was the Carolina Panthers. I would draft the person that I think is the second best edge rusher in the class. And I'm 100% confident this is not who the Panthers are picking. But again, it's who I think they should pick, and that's James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. He had an amazing combine. The questions about him are more off the field and personality, which, that turns some teams off. It does. All I'm hearing right now is that the Panthers seem to be 50-50 on Shamar Stewart and Jalen Walker. I simply I love Jalen Walker, and Shamar Stewart's a freak athlete. I simply think James Pierce Jr. is better. He was more productive in college. I mean, I think it's that simple. So if I'm the Panthers, I would pick James Pierce Jr. The Saints. I'm not going to lie. The Saints are a team where I've really wondered, could they draft Shadur Sanders? I mean, he gets to sit behind Derek Carr for a year, so he doesn't have to start right away. They have Spencer Rattler, but do you really trust him? Is he really your future? I don't think so. And even if he is, add some competition. Why not? So Shadur is definitely a thought, but if I'm the Saints, it's hard not to go edge rusher because there are so many great edge rushers in this class. There's so many great ones. Who would I? You know what? Why not spice it up a little bit? I would go Shadur Sanders. As someone, I'm a full believer that no matter how great the quarterback may be coming out of college, I want them to sit for a year. Why not? I think it does worlds for their development. I really do. And so I would just draft Shadur and have him sit for a year behind Derek Carr. Yeah, you'll probably be bad. That's fine. That's fine. It's not like you're going to win the Super Bowl anyways. So just be bad. And you'll have a high draft pick next season. You won't have to worry about drafting a quarterback. So you can draft someone else. You can draft a really good player that is not a oh my gosh, the word just left me. A quarterback. The Bears. The Bears are a tricky one. Because I think the Bears, if Ashton Genty is not here, I think the Bears are prime spot for a trade back. Because I think Omari and Hampton could be a pick here at 10, but I think the Bears could easily just trade back into the late teens and still get Omari and Hampton. But again, I'm not doing trades. So where they sit now, I think is a little rich for me to draft Omari and Hampton at 10. I'd probably go edge. It's probably Mike Green is probably who I would draft. I would draft Mike Green. Again, personality issues is his problem. And that'll turn some people off, but I'm drafting based off talent. I can't confirm personally any sort of personality issues. I've never met these guys. Okay, I don't know everything going on in their lives, so I'm drafting based off the talent that I think that they have. The San Francisco 49ers. I have drafted this player to the San Francisco 49ers so often, and I just love it. I love everything about it. And so at this point, I hope it happens because it feels like if it doesn't happen, I will have wasted away and wasted my time. But that's okay. Will Johnson, corner to the Niners. If you don't consider Travis Hunter, he's the best corner in the he's the best pure corner in the class, in my opinion. Some people would say Jahdae Barron. I get it. I'm not saying that. I think Will Johnson has the potential to be special. Niners need a corner. Marriage in paradise, you know what I'm saying? The Cowboys. Oh boy, the Cowboys. I think when you first look at it, I think Amari and Hampton's a possibility, but I have a feeling the Cowboys will draft a running back in the second round because this is a very deep running back class. So then my thought goes to, okay, what wide receivers are available? Because you have CeeDee Lamb and then a bunch of mid. You need a guy opposite CeeDee. So I think most people's initial thought would be, oh, Tetairoa McMillan. But quite simply, I just think Matthew Golden is better. And I love Matthew Golden, and it would hurt to see him go to the Cowboys. But if I'm the Cowboys, I would draft Matthew Golden because I think he could be really special in the NFL. The Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins are a team that needs a tackle, but they also need a safety. And you can call me biased, but I'm telling you now, if I was the GM making this pick for the Dolphins, I'm picking Malachi Starks because quite simply, I think Malachi is generational. He had a down season this past season. That is true. I mentioned it many times on this podcast during the season. But you cannot deny the fact that he has immense talent. Okay? And he's a smart player, and the Dolphins really need a safety. And tackle is more important, and there were good tackles there. Armand Membu, Kelvin Banks. But I would draft Malachi Starks because I believe in him in the NFL. The Indianapolis Colts. Tyler Warren's not here, so you can't draft him. I think Colston Loveland could be a possibility. Jahad Campbell could be a possibility. There's not an interior offensive lineman I would draft this high. Edge is possible. Maybe a Jalen Walker, a Shamar Stewart. I think if it's an edge rusher, I think I would go with Shamar Stewart right here. Jalen Walker just doesn't seem like a Colt, in my opinion. I don't know what it is. So watch. That means he's going to end up being a Colt. That's what that means. But what would I do? I think I would go Shamar Stewart, edge rusher out of Texas A&M to the Colts. I think that's what I would do. It was either going to be him or Jahad Campbell. So, the Falcons. What would I do if I was the Falcons? I think it's simple. I would go Jalen Walker. The Falcons are a team who desperately need pass rush. That's what Jalen Walker can provide. They need an edge, but they also need a true linebacker. Jalen Walker is basically a hybrid. He can kind of do both. Now, I would personally make sure I would just put him at edge all the time because I just think that's where he's better. And he's a Georgia guy. The Falcons should have a lot of tape on him, a lot of knowledge about him. I would love to see Jalen Walker stay in Georgia. The Arizona Cardinals, man. I'm the Arizona Cardinals. I think I would go Kenneth Grant. I'm a big fan of Kenneth Grant. I would love to see my Steelers draft him on draft night if he lasts that long. And I also think we're in the market for a younger defensive tackle or / nose tackle. But also so are the Cardinals. And I think Kenneth Grant, I've drafted him to the Cardinals a lot. I just like the fit. I really like the fit. The Bengals. What will the Bengals do, huh? Kenneth Grant would have been a possibility for the Bengals. For sure. For sure. But I think there's another possibility for the Bengals. I did not mean, if you heard that, that was me accidentally hitting my laptop. Apologies. I think Walter Nolan could be a possibility. I think a tackle could be a possibility. Maybe an Armand Membu. Gray Zabel maybe starts to get talked about right here. But I'm going to go Walter Nolan. I think Walter Nolan and Kenneth Grant are going to be, I think they're going to be drafted around the same time and area, personally. Maybe Walter Nolan gets drafted first to the Cardinals and then Kenneth Grant to the Bengals. Maybe. I don't know. But this is just how I would have it. So Walter Nolan to the Bengals. And I think the Seahawks will be doing jumps for joy. There's still plenty of tackles available. I would go I don't know what I was about to say. I'm going to go Kelvin Banks. And I know what people are probably thinking, what about Armand Membu? I don't know. Everyone has gotten so in love with Armand Mimbu, and I'm not exactly sure why. I'm not exactly sure why. Like, I think he's a good tackle, but I don't think he's not better than Will Campbell. And I don't think he's better than Kelvin Banks. I really don't. I struggle to say he's better than Josh Simmons. I really do. So that's why I haven't had him get picked yet, because I just don't see it. The Buccaneers. I think the Buccaneers in this scenario would 100%. Ooh, actually, I was about to say John A. Barron, which I still think is probably where I'm going to go. But Jahad Campbell's interesting. I think Jahad Campbell could be a nice pick for the Buccaneers as well. But I think I'm going to go John A. Barron, because I like John A. Barron more, so that's who I would pick. So the Broncos. I think the Broncos would. I think Omarion Hampton's a possibility for sure. I think Ted McMillan's a possibility. Colston Loveland. I think it's between Omarion Hampton, Colston Loveland, Ted McMillan. What would I do? What would I do? So if you look at their receiving core, they honestly, the Broncos receiving core isn't terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. And the fact is, they need a running back desperately. I mean, tight ends, they have Evan Ingram. So they need a running back more than anything. So I think you got to go Omarion Hampton here to the Broncos at 20. And then you come to the Steelers. They're not going to draft Ted McMillan. He's too much like George Pickens and DK Metcalf. You'd have three of the same thing. So they would not draft Ted McMillan. They're not going to draft Mykel Williams. They don't need an edge rusher. I don't think they would draft Jahad Campbell. They don't need an interior linebacker. Armand Mimbu is a possibility. They could use another tackle. I don't think Colston Loveland's a possibility with Pat Freiermuth. Nick Emenwari, probably not. But look, this is what I believe the Steelers should do. I've absolutely despised hearing all the Jalen Milroe talk. If the Steelers, I'm telling you right now, if the Steelers draft Jalen Milroe with the 21st pick in the first round, the week after the draft, that episode of this podcast will have nothing to do with college football, and will be me having an absolute crash out session on my Pittsburgh Steelers, because I will be irate. I'm telling you right now. And in this scenario, I would go Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart has a lot of potential. I really like him. And I think that is the young quarterback the Steelers should get to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. That's what I think. He can learn from Aaron Rodgers. He can learn from Mason Rudolph. I think Jackson Dart should be the pick at 21 for the Steelers if he is there. The Chargers. For me, it's Colston Loveland, plain and simple. He's a really good tight end. A lot of people aren't talking about him as much as they should be. And is he Tyler Warren? No, but he's still really freaking good. And I think the drop off after him is drastic. So the Packers. The Packers have talked about how much they want to have a true wide receiver one. So go ahead and take, in this scenario, who a lot of people think is wide receiver one for this class, Ted McMillan to the Packers. The Vikings, I love this pick to the Vikings, and I do it every time, and I'm going to do it again. Nick Emenwari. He just feels like a Viking to me, and I'm not exactly sure why. The Texans, Armand Mimbu, plain and simple. They need offensive line help desperately. CJ Stroud's getting killed back there, so take the best one available. That's Armand Mimbu. The Rams. The Rams are a fun one. In this scenario, I would have them go Jahad Campbell. They need linebackers. Um, and I think Jahad Campbell could be a nice fit for that defense that just is wreaking havoc. The Ravens, Mykel Williams is. This is where I start thinking Mykel Williams is a possibility, is with the Ravens. Josh Simmons, probably not. Gray Zabel, I think, is absolutely a possibility. And I think that's what I'm going to end up going with. I'm going to end up going with Gray Zabel. He's a tackle out of North Dakota State, but he's going to play guard in the NFL. Then you get to the Lions. Mykel Williams feels like a Lion pick, but so does Jack Sawyer for some reason. But I'm not going to pick Jack Sawyer. What could be the possibilities? Donovan Ezeraku could be a possibility. Mykel Williams could be a possibility. For some reason, Mykel Williams just feels like a Lion pick. So I'm going to go Mykel Williams to the Lions. The Washington Commanders. They would probably not be super happy in this scenario. A lot of edge rushers been taken. The two best wide receivers have been taken. Emeka Egbuka is still available, though. The question is, would I want Emeka Egbuka? Would I really draft wide receiver first round when I already have Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel? It's something you got to ask yourself. I think Savone Ravel, Trey Amos could be a possibility. It's too high for any running back, I think, like Caleb Johnson or Travion Henderson. Edge rusher, I mean, Donovan Ezeraku is a possibility. And I think that's what I would end up going. I think I'm going to end up going Donovan Ezeraku to the Washington Commanders. Now we got the Bills. The Bills. For the Bills, I'm going to go Derek Harmon, defensive tackle out of Oregon. They need some defensive line help. Kansas City Chiefs. They need to tackle. I would go Josh Simmons. I think Josh Simmons is being very underrated in this draft, and I think he's going to go to a good team because I think he's going to be late first round, and that's going to end up being a really sneaky good pick. The Philadelphia Eagles. They need interior offensive line. So Donovan Jackson could be a possibility out of Ohio State. I would say he's probably the next one up. Emeka Egbuka is an interesting one, but I would say no. What else could it be? It could be Nick Skirton. Hurting for a skirtin or whatever. It could be him. That's definitely a possibility. Are there any other edge rushers? Landon Jackson would be interesting, but they would probably take Nick Gordon. Is it Scorton or Skirton? I've heard both. Safeties, there's not one here. Defensive tackle, be Tyleik Williams or Darius Alexander. I think it's a little early for TJ Sanders. I think I'm going to go Nick Gordon. I think that'd be the pick. And that is your first round mock draft. Man, I think the week of the draft it'll be at least a 2-rounder, maybe a 3-rounder. Although I'm going to go faster if I do that. So definitely if it's a 3-rounder, I'm going to have to speed run, but it'd be fun. It'd be something new, something interesting, something fresh. I hope you all enjoyed this first round mock draft. The draft is coming up quickly. I'm super excited. I love draft season for the NFL. I love the NFL draft in general. I hope everyone enjoys this upcoming weekend. I hope everyone goes out and touches some grass, enjoys the sun, and yeah, everyone just have a great day.